Hello and welcome to my channel Regenerate. Thanks for being here. I started this channel wanting to explore my thoughts as a working mother and being a new first-time mother and wanting to find balance in my life. One thing that has been coming up for me a lot as a new mother is confidence and wanting to have more confidence in the decisions that I am making as a mother and having more confidence in myself, for myself, to be able to teach that to my daughter. And one way that this has come up for me as a problem in my mind is in making medical related decisions for my daughter. And this is an area that has caused me a lot of anxiety, and I want to share my thoughts in this area for others out there that may be feeling the same way. And making medical decisions for my daughter has been particularly difficult for me as a person who has experienced medical trauma in my history. And I want to empathize with parents out there and encourage parents out there that may have also experienced medical trauma, and that leading to anxiety and difficulty with making medical decisions for their children. And especially, I think as a first-time parent, this is a really difficult thing to try and navigate all of these things that are new and try to make these decisions very, very early in our child's life when they are so vulnerable. And we are there to be their rock and make these decisions for them when they cannot make it for themselves. So I'm trying to gain confidence in this area, and I'm hoping that this conversation can help others out there who are also looking for that confidence in being able to make these decisions for their family. So I hear a lot of people categorizing themselves as a science mom or a crunchy mom, and I would say that I fall somewhere in the middle, where I have some overlap with science moms and some overlap with crunchy moms. And it is easy to get stereotyped and to feel like if you identify with one or the other, that your decisions need to fall in line with whatever that stereotype is. And what I find is that every individual, every family, every child has their own unique circumstance, and that is how they should be treated, is as a unique individual and identifying what are their needs as an individual. I am someone that has a background in science and also wants to always take a low intervention approach. And I think that low intervention approach has been from my learnings of experiencing trauma in the US medical system. In my experience with our medical system, I have received life-saving care multiple times, where without modern medicine, I would not be sitting here today. So I am very grateful and welcoming of the fact that we have these modern medical treatments and innovations available to us in the US, and I have benefited from those. That said, we live in a society where the way things function, in particular for-profit medical companies and for-profit care providers, this doesn't apply to every care provider out there or every hospital system out there, but for the most part, in our system that is trying to be optimized for efficiency and for profit, it is not feasible to take every individual's situation into consideration as a care provider or as a company that is developing products. It's not financially feasible, and maybe there's not enough information at times. And so frequently, interventions get applied in ways that are unnecessary. And the treatment of people going through the system in a non-personalized way leads to a lot of suffering, whether that be physical suffering to one's body or mental suffering, as I experienced with the trauma of not feeling cared for, even though my life was saved. People might say, what do you care about your mental suffering? You're alive. And they're not mutually exclusive. I am extremely thankful for the fact that my life was saved by these care providers and by modern technology. I can feel grateful for that and also feel upset about how people are treated in the medical system. And this experience is what led me to, as I say, taking the lowest intervention approach where feasible and arming myself with the knowledge to be able to make decisions that are personalized for me and my family and my daughter in a system where personalization is not automatic. So just a little bit about my background. I studied health sciences and engineering. I got a doctorate in biomedical engineering. So I have a scientific knowledge and can apply the skills that I've learned about how to assess scientific information in these medical type fields. I also work in the biotech industry, and I understand how new technologies are developed and brought into clinical trials and then expanded into other populations that are out there. This information can be, as some people say, a double-edged sword, is that I feel like I know so much that I also understand the risks, always wanting to assess the risk benefit of selecting or accepting some kind of intervention for myself or my daughter. So that background combined with my experience of medical trauma has resulted in me just agonizing over making decisions about my daughter's health, and things starting in pregnancy with not wanting to take the glucose tolerance test. I agonized over that, and my provider forced me to take it, and I did take it. And going through to birth and all of the things that are offered or suggested when a child is born in a hospital setting, which is where I birthed my daughter, and going through to all of her appointments where there are countless decisions that we are faced with as first-time parents, like vaccines and supplements and so on. Knowing the basics about history and knowing about the medical system, it is clear to me that modern medicine has greatly improved the resources and options for what we can do for people to improve and extend their lives. And I think that that needs to be or should be applied in certain situations And it's not always necessary to go to a medical solution for something, because people's lives have also been improved with access to clean water, access to good nutrition, access to hygiene. And those are all things that, privileged as I am living in the United States and being able to afford good nutrition and having access to clean water and the access and education about hygiene, I am able to benefit from all of those things. And that practicing those things alone can take me and my family to a place in our health where we do not require a lot of medical intervention. And that is my first line of defense, is wherever possible, take care of my health without requiring medical intervention. And medical, typically I'm thinking, drugs and procedures and that kind of thing that is from the, Western medicine hospital type setting that I want to avoid. I also, on the more of the crunchy mom side, with the vitamins and the supplements and all of these things that come in plastic containers that are advertised to us in a for-profit way, just like the medical system in our country. These natural supplements are frequently unnecessary and can come with some risk. So my approach is to eat healthy, whole foods, feed my daughter a lot of vegetables and fruits and whole grains and good sources of protein like tofu and chicken. And that is where I focus my health and attempt to avoid the need for health care by taking care of my health with nutrition. And so not only avoiding unnecessary medical interventions, but avoiding unnecessary supplements or vitamins, and knowing that, if I need something, I'll take it. In the past, my doctor has checked my blood and I was low in vitamin D. So I supplemented with vitamin D, but I'm not going to go to the health food store and just load up on all of these supplements that I don't need. And just as a reminder, the basis of this video is that I'm saying every person needs to assess their own situation. And so, knowing that I am feeding my daughter and my family and myself healthy, whole foods, and we don't have any deficiencies in, vitamins and blood work, there's nothing that I need to supplement. And that may not be the case for other people out there. They may need to supplement things. So this is not anti-supplement. This is anti-advertising, anti-consumerism, anti-buying all the things out there that people tell you that you need to be healthy that are unnecessary. And that's part of my low intervention approach. So I want to share an example of something that I worked through lately with the goal of validating your experiences if you have experienced this struggle with trying to make decisions and trying to find information that is of a good source to be able to make decisions for your health or your child's health. So this example is not to say that you should do what I'm doing. It's just, again, to elaborate on how I think things should be personalized. So the example that I'm going to give is actually in dental health and around the use of fluoride. tooth decay can be a very serious problem. It doesn't take science to show that. If people can intuit that tooth decay is a very serious problem for children, and it is primarily affecting children that don't have access to good nutrition. So children that are not eating healthy whole foods and vegetables and are primarily eating refined carbs and sugars and not having dental hygiene. So fluoride was a complete game changer for children that didn't have access to adequate nutrition. And fluoride prevents or helps prevent tooth decay in children. And so fluoride has been added to water and in toothpaste for children and adults to use to prevent tooth decay. That greatly improves the quality of life for people to have access to fluoride to protect their dental health. So that said, it's also known that fluoride is a neurotoxin and in high quantities can have detrimental effects. And when I look at a tube of toothpaste with fluoride, it says on there not to swallow it. I know that I'm feeding my daughter well, and she gets the healthy whole foods. I'm nursing her. She's getting that healthy breast milk. And we also live in a place where our municipal water has fluoride in it. So we are getting that fluoride daily as we are drinking water where we live. And I am brushing her teeth and I'm assessing the risk of her having tooth decay and whether or not I should be using fluoride toothpaste. And I decided that based on my knowledge of the nutrition that I'm giving my daughter and the fact that I am brushing her teeth, that she doesn't need a fluoride toothpaste because she can't spit it out. And I don't want her to have that exposure to toxins unnecessarily. And this is, brushing her teeth day after day after day when she is a very small human and unable to spit out the fluoride. That exposure builds up over time. I'm assessing what is her actual risk versus the benefit of giving her fluoride. And I think that the risk is fairly low, but the benefit is also fairly low. And I have an alternative to fluoride, which I will talk about later. But my decision was I'm not going to use fluoride toothpaste, even though that is what my doctor recommended. After my daughter got her first two teeth, immediately when her first two teeth erupted, I started brushing them immediately, and initially starting with just water and a toothbrush without fluoride toothpaste. And that happened right before she turned 6 months old. And I took her to her 6-month doctor's appointment. The doctor unexpectedly told me that she was going to put this fluoride varnish on my daughter's teeth. And my gut reaction was, I don't want her to do that, but I had not known that this was going to come up at the appointment, and I had not prepared myself for what to say or what questions to ask. And I ended up letting the doctor put this fluoride varnish on my daughter's tiny little 2 teeth that had just come through her gums. And I was so upset at myself after that appointment. And I know, she does this to all of the kids in her office, and it is, yes, proven safe by the FDA to use fluoride in children. And the reason why I was upset at myself was less about the fluoride and more about my inability to stand up to the doctor because I was afraid to say anything to the doctor. And that really upset me for not being an advocate for my child and for what I wanted for my child. And that is the difficult thing that I wanted to address today and encourage parents to be able to advocate and ask questions and learn information and go to these appointments ready to advocate. So after that appointment, I was really beating myself up for not being able to speak my mind. And this is a long history for me from childhood and being brought up in a household and an environment where I was expected to respect authority and felt like this doctor was the authority and that I didn't have the expertise or that I would be judged and was not comfortable speaking up. And so after that appointment and having that happen and feeling that this was so important to me to be able to speak up for my daughter because she cannot speak up for herself, that is my responsibility. And I gave myself this title that I use just internally in my head for myself as the mom authority, and giving myself the authority, saying, you are the authority for your child. You are responsible for your child, and the decisions that you make for your child are yours to make. And giving myself the authority to be able to speak up in the future. And I told myself that in the future, at the next appointments, I was not going to let anything be done against that gut feeling that I was having. And it has taken me a while to figure out what that gut feeling is. Honestly, I've been the kind of person that has been unable to find what is that gut feeling a lot of times, that I'm like, yeah, something feels bad, but I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what the gut feeling is telling me to do. And what I have recently realized is that if it's a gut feeling of anxiety and uncertainty, that gut feeling is saying no. It's just that that simple. The gut feeling is saying no. And that is enough to pause the situation and say, I'm not sure about this. Let's pause. I need more information. I have questions. I need some time to think about it when that gut feeling of no comes up. I did want to mention what I am doing for my daughter's tooth care routine, and I am brushing her teeth with toothpaste, and I'm using a hydroxyapatite toothpaste. And the reason I'm using this hydroxyapatite toothpaste is because I did a lot of research for dental care for my own teeth. I had a lot of problems with tooth sensitivity, and I found original journal articles from scientific publications that were comparing hydroxyapatite toothpaste to fluoride toothpaste and found that they were equal in their ability to prevent dental cavities and tooth decay and help with tooth sensitivity. And it was a game changer for me. I went from having extremely sensitive teeth to having essentially no tooth sensitivity when I switched over to that hydroxyapatite toothpaste. So these studies, they were done in other countries in Europe and Japan, where hydroxyapatite toothpaste has been used for decades. And the studies were done in people, including children, and shown that hydroxyapatite not only helped with the preventing cavities, but also was safe to swallow, unlike the fluoride toothpaste. So because I had that knowledge from my own tooth care, I knew that I had a effective option other than fluoride to use for my daughter that would be safe for her to swallow. And I will say that these toothpastes in the US, fluoride toothpaste, has some review by the FDA, which is the regulatory body for medical products and cosmetic products in the US. And so fluoride toothpastes that are making claims about preventing cavities, those have been reviewed by the FDA. The FDA has not okayed any hydroxyapatite toothpaste in the US, but there are equivalent regulatory bodies in Europe that give the CE mark, which is the analogous to what the FDA does in the US. The European Regulatory Authority has acknowledged and accepted that these hydroxyapatite toothpastes are safe and effective. So finding a CE mark hydroxyapatite toothpaste would require buying a product from overseas, but that does exist. And that gives me even more comfort in knowing that I am protecting my daughter against tooth decay and giving her something that is safe to swallow. And once she is old enough and aware enough and capable of being able to spit out the toothpaste, maybe I will switch over to a fluoride-based toothpaste. Maybe I'll continue using the hydroxyapatite toothpaste. I may look at any updates in the research at that point and make the decision then. But I feel good right now about my decision not having her be swallowing fluoride on top of what she's already drinking every day. And that is for, my personal decision for my family and knowing our circumstances and her low risk of having tooth decay, given the resources we have, her breastfeeding, and so on. Not everybody is going to have access to healthy whole foods. Not everybody is able to or interested in breastfeeding. And other people's situations may be different. So they may feel that it's lower risk for them to use a fluoride-based toothpaste, even if their child is going to swallow it, and maybe just use a tiny bit of it. So this isn't intended to be a video about toothpaste and fluoride, although I was interested to share my experience with that. I'm not trying to change your mind about using fluoride or not using fluoride. What I'm trying to do with this video is to say that it is really difficult as a first-time parent to make these important health-related decisions for our children. And it took me some time to give myself the authority, the mom authority, and the permission to speak up for what I believe is in my daughter's best interest. And we don't always have the luxury of time if we need to make a decision quickly. And we don't always have the luxury of resources to find the right healthcare provider. But we do still have the ability to ask questions and feel that we are making the decision. So I would encourage people out there that are struggling with this to get the information that they need, whether that is preparing in advance of the appointment and looking up the latest research, or if you're maybe pressed for time or don't want to read the research, a good resource that I like is the World Health Organization. They are not going to be biased, like looking up information in the US, which sometimes can be a company funded study, or what the particular doctor is recommending, without having that. Well, they're going to probably have some scientific basis behind what they're recommending. But the World Health Organization, I like as just an independent check on, is this something that I should be doing for my child? And without that, if something pops up in the appointment, it's okay to press pause. Usually it's not a decision that needs to be made immediately. And you can always say, I don't feel comfortable making this decision right now, or I need some time to think about it. And we did that last time we were at the office and offered the flu vaccine and the COVID vaccine. And we said, we need some time to think about it. And happy to talk about vaccines another time if that's of interest. When faced with decisions in the office that I was unsure of, I have been able to say, I need some time to think about it, or maybe next time. There are ways to say no in a polite way and feel like you are using that authority that you have. I hope that this was helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you will join me again soon.